It's time. You know it's time. You have been thinking about creating and posting content for way too long. I am here to let you know that it's time to get started on this journey. Let's talk numbers, money, and a brief history. I made my first upload back, I think it was late September of 2022. I will post on screen how much money I have made through this platform so far through a combination of sponsorships and affiliate links. At the time of posting this video, I have 955 subscribers, and I will also put on the screen exactly how many uploads I have made here between long form and short form videos. I'm here to tell you why creating and posting content and making that switch from content consumer to content creator might be the most impactful decision of your life. I am here to sit down and have a talk with you because it's time to get real. It is time to stop being stagnant. It is time to make some definitive change and move towards your goals and what you want out of this life. I've put a fair number of hours into this hobby so far. I would probably be done with any other hobby right now, but I have gained a lot from this journey and I want to share that with you so that you know what you stand to benefit by getting started on this path. The first major benefit is that you will start to look better as a result of uploading videos onto these different platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever your platform of choice. If you are looking to improve your aesthetics, getting into this journey is a surefire way to accelerate your improvement and your growth in this space. By taking a step back and seeing yourself on camera frequently, you are going to start to see things that maybe you have been in denial about, or maybe you have been blind to, areas where you want to improve. And this is, again, not about picking ourselves apart or anything like that, but it is about finding where we have opportunities to implement some sustainable, positive change when it comes to the way we look and the way that we present ourselves to the world. There's huge benefits to improving your looks. There's a ton of studies and a ton of research that validate that pretty privilege is a real thing. The more you focus on your appearance, the better you feel about yourself. It will also impact how others treat you because it sends signals to others in the world that you care about yourself and you have standards. We tend to have a level of blindness and comfort when it comes to our appearance because we see ourselves every single day. Looking at yourself through a screen or the playback of your video, that's going to help you have a more objective and realistic eye. And it's going to help you identify ways that you can move past what I'll call beauty stagnation and think about ways that you can improve your physical appearance and how you show up in the world. As a result of seeing myself on camera a lot more over the past couple of years, there's several things that I've done, just a slightly heightened next level approach to skincare. So I've taken my professional skincare a little bit further, moved beyond just the standard facials and start incorporating things like annual chemical peels to give my skin that refreshed and smooth appearance. I also noticed in some of my old videos that my face seemed so swollen and puffy and round. And I started to think through, is this a result of me having excess stress and cortisol stored in my body? I have invested in a class that is focused on somatic exercises, which help you release tension in your body while you're flushing out this excess cortisol. And it's supposed to help balance your body and ultimately lead to a better appearance that is closer to what your true self is supposed to look like. I've also invested in facial massage courses. So I am really big right now and have been for the past couple of months into the fascia level of skincare and the lymphatic drainage component as well. I purchased a course for that. I am absolutely starting to see benefits and just more symmetry in my face from going through these different techniques. I also pay more attention to things like my color palette. So I'm in this dark forest green top today because this is the type of color scheme that is most complementary to my personal palette, my hair color, my skin color combination. This is something that looks way better on me than pastels, which sometimes I find that my eye is drawn to, but they don't do me a lot of favors. That's helped me get smarter about shopping and just my personal styling elements, which saves me a lot of time at the end of the day because I have more things in my closet that are just more suited to me as an individual. The main point here is that focusing more on your appearance as a result of stepping into this lane of content creation is something that is going to help you show up in the world as who you think you are and who you are supposed to be and who you want to be. It is human nature to be attracted to beautiful things and beautiful people, and that is because beauty raises our frequency. It is not all about vanity. It really does affect how we feel on the inside, and that internal state is important because that affects so many other things that we do in our lives. My next argument is that going through this journey of content creation is going to lead you to focus more on documenting your life. I would argue that this process of documentation is something that's going to help you have more gratitude for and appreciation of the beauty that is your human experience. By becoming a content creator, you are basically creating your own digital, visual, motion picture time capsule. And that idea alone is just so compelling and captivating to me. I love that I am now in the habit of capturing memories and moments with friends and family and creating these little mini look backs, even if they never see the light of day. I have used my newfound skills to do things like make a 30-second video recapping when my little cousin got her first car and all of the excitement around that. And it was also just a fun family gathering and a happy moment overall. In a way, I've become a historian. And when I really sat and thought about that point, I realized that I, back in middle school, really enjoyed taking pictures on disposable cameras and capturing these moments with friends and classmates and all of that. I am definitely dating myself with that reference, but I really want to see those make a comeback because I think they were such a fun way to capture a lot of shots. You don't really know what you're going to get until you get that film developed at a later date. We didn't have that instant feedback and ability to like edit and take a million pictures on our phones and figure out which one we liked from there. What you got is what you got. And there was an element of heightened fun that came along with that. I guarantee that your future self will be so grateful that you took the time and energy to capture these types of moments in your life, even the mundane stuff. Another example of how I've done this that was, again, more for me and less for posting for public consumption. I took a girls' trip with a couple of my college roommates earlier this year, made a 30-second recap video. And I smile every single time I watch it because it just brings back the joy of how fun that experience was and how it was such a good time for us to reconnect in a way on a bit of a deeper level. I want you to realize that the unscripted moments are really where a lot of the magic is. So just raw laughter, capturing things like getting lost in the jungle on that girls' trip with one of my friends as we were trying to find our way to a yoga class, which we never made it to on time. We could never find the location of that spot, or even capturing moments from my family's holiday celebrations and my dad and my uncle just really turning up when the old school music came on. So much fun. And again, I'm just glad that I have that stuff on record so that I can look back on that in the future. Listen, we know that social media is a highlight reel. We know this. That is just a fact. That is often something that is stated as a criticism of social media because we have this human tendency to compare ourselves to others, and we tend to compare our normal everyday life with someone else's highlight reel. Yes, that can be damaging from a mental health perspective, but I'm going to argue and say that if we flip that on its head, we do a 180 and we think about rather than consuming content, creating content and putting it out, you are focusing on your highlight reel. But I think there's huge benefits to that. By focusing on creating and curating your own highlight reels, you are going to reap the benefits of pulling more of that good energy into your life. So, as we switch to creating our own highlight reels rather than solely consuming the highlight reels of others, it is going to put a more positive spin on how you view your life experiences. It's going to put you in a state of gratitude and positive thinking that is going to help you call in and pull in more of those positive feelings to your lived experience. This is all about bringing in more of the good stuff that you want in your life. When we think about how we can romanticize our lives, the mundane things, I document things like my work travel from time to time, something that a lot of people think can be a hassle or just hectic because air travel at this point in history is kind of crazy. But I focus on how I make my travel days as smooth as possible in hopes of inspiring others to pick up on some of my tips. Like, how do I eat healthy on work trips? Or what are the types of things that I am doing when I'm traveling to new cities that are focused on me and my own personal betterment and my interests? The more you do this romanticization of the mundane, the more it becomes second nature for you. It really, really does come down to a mindset shift that you are able to make. It's so bright out here. I'm going to switch to my hat. One of the other benefits is that you're going to start to realize your creative power like never before. I spent most of my life telling myself, oh, I am not creative, but I'm really strong with the analytical and logical thinking. This was a narrative that ran in my brain for more than half of my life, like well into my 20s. I would say even throughout my 20s, I was really good academically at things that aligned with the STEM areas. I have a hard science degree, and I've also worked in career fields where those logical and analytical skills were things that were praised. So that's how I got validation for most of my life, really starting back in kindergarten, being good at math and science and not spending a lot of time focusing on things of a creative nature. If you believe in a higher power, you already know, like deep down inside, that because you come from a creator, you are creative in nature as well. If you're one of those people that felt like I did in the past, we need to stop running that script. We need to remind ourselves that we have creative power innately with us. We are creation and we are creative by nature. It is embedded into our being on so many different levels. Part of why I started down this path is because I just realized that I really needed a creative outlet. I was super burnt out from my demanding corporate job, and I needed something that was going to allow me to use my brain in a way that was more aligned with how I wanted to use my brain. I used to do technology consulting. I spent a couple of years in big tech as well. I have since switched gears with my 9 to 5 and left a lot of that stuff in the past. I will say, though, that I think a lot of that background benefits me in this space as well because I am good with numbers and metrics and I'm good with analyzing data, which is a part of how you should figure out how you want to grow your journey or your platform within this space. So I don't discount that. Like, yes, I spent a lot of time doing work that I wasn't really passionate about, but there are also a lot of benefits from that transfer into this space. And for that, I'm super grateful. I had gone back and forth on this idea of starting a YouTube channel for, I kid you not, like 10 to 15 years, but I really felt like I was overwhelmed by the other elements of adulting and I just couldn't figure out how I would fit this in addition to fighting that inner monologue of thinking that I did not have a lot of strength in the creative area. So once I got over that, it was a game changer. I stopped worrying about how I was going to figure out how to sustain this channel. I stopped worrying about the fact that I had these thoughts around the ship has sailed. I should have done this way back then because the girls that started back then are on the cover of Forbes now and they're killing it. And I thought that, in some ways this market is oversaturated, but you also have to have that internal belief that anything is possible. And if this is something that you want to go after, you need to give it your energy. Like stalling and continuing to stall is not going to serve you. It is not going to make that desire in you go away. So if you are still hearing that call, you're having these thoughts, you're debating about doing this, that is your sign that you need to do it. That's what that means. It's there for a reason. That seed was planted for a reason. You need to tap into it and you need to try this out. Anytime I mentioned wanting to get into content creation with like my close circle of friends and family, the feedback that I got was so supportive in a way that it almost surprised me. Like, I know that I am blessed with a very supportive inner circle, but when I would share this with a small handful of people, they would always be like, duh, like, yeah, why are you not doing this already? Like, you're the person that would be perfectly suited for this. And so that gave me, I think, a little bit of a push to keep going. I would say that even if you don't have that support, that's okay. I know not everyone has that. I know that that is a huge blessing, but you need to try this for yourself no matter what. What I'm trying to help you avoid is having the feelings that I had of thinking the ship has sailed. I should have done this 10, 15 years ago. What if, what if, what if? It doesn't matter. The past is in the past. You weren't ready to bring this to fruition at that time. But if you're watching this video, this is another sign that this is calling you and you need to get started sooner rather than later. Get over whatever fears you might have about this and just push through. You got to get to that first upload. I didn't still want to be asking what if another 5, 10, or 15 years down the road. So I got over myself. I decided that I needed to get out of my own head and I needed to just push forward. And I'm encouraging you to do the exact same thing. I have gained so many new skills through this pursuit or this hobby, whatever you want to call it at this point. Video editing, self-taught or partially taught through YouTube tutorials as well. But things like scripting, also storyboarding have all been new areas for me to flex my brain in ways that I have not before. There's also a ton of neuroscience that shows that the more we try new things and work on gaining new skills as we get older, the younger our brain will be. I did a video on that, a short form video related to this whole area of learning new things and continuing to do that as we get older. And that was a part of my journey of getting into skiing and snowboarding in my 30s. Experimentation really is the name of the game. I am doing something that I've never done. I'm sitting outside filming a video. My dog is right here with me. Say hello. Or not. But this is new for me. I don't do outdoor filming because there's a lot of uncontrollable elements here, but it is a beautiful day. My birthday was yesterday, and I'm convinced that all of this really nice weather has come into the city just for me. But that's besides the point. The whole point here is to try different things. I mentioned that I have not done a lot of long form videos on this channel. This is another experiment with long form video in a very different setting, with me just sitting down out here fighting the sun and trying to protect my collagen at the same time while giving you some of my thoughts and hopefully connecting with you in a different way. One of the other benefits is that you will build connection with other humans. Sharing our human experiences is what connects us to each other, especially at a time when more people are feeling more social isolation and just a lower sense of community support. This is a unique time in human history. I firmly believe that we are on this earth at this point in time with the internet for a reason. We need to use this tool to our advantage, to our collective advantage, and think about how we can add value in a way that will bring people closer together over time. This widespread use of the internet has really opened doors that were unimaginable just 30 or 40 years ago. We know that social media has a lot of negative elements to it, and the internet can be a crazy place. The truth of the matter is that we all want to be seen and heard, but a lot of us also fear being seen and heard. It's this weird paradox. I still have what I refer to as random moments of cringe before hitting the upload or post button on some pieces of content. I don't really know why that happens. I just kind of get in my head and I start to have these thoughts about, like, is this going to land well? Is this going to reach the right audience? Did I edit this in the right way? Blah, 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 blah. But once I start to get over that and I just hit the button and I let it go and I just let the algorithms do whatever they are going to do, I give myself credit for overcoming that challenge for the day. And I think that's important as well. Just by getting to that point of sharing the content, you have done something that most people haven't done and will never do. This is really where the growth happens, and you need to give yourself credit for making progress in that way as well, no matter how big or how small. When it comes to this point of making connection, you will quickly start to realize that you can have an impact without having some huge following or doing astronomical metrics when it comes to, like, your view count, for example. I have gotten a lot of feedback from random folks and people that I know that they really like certain types of content that I put out. And that is great feedback for me because it lets me know what is resonating with others. That can help me think about my content strategy going forward. But it also reaffirms that we have more in common than we have differences in this life. And you really just need to realize this whole game is about finding your right audience. You're not going to do that if you're not posting. So you got to just, like, get into the routine of this and let your content land where it's going to land and use that feedback accordingly. Let's go over some tips and general advice if you are at that point of wanting to start this journey, or maybe start over. Maybe you used to upload content, but for whatever reason, life got in the way and you stopped doing that. One, stop overthinking it. If this idea is in your head or on your heart, that is your sign that you need to do this. And that thought is probably not going to go away. So you might as well scratch the itch and get a better understanding after you've done this consistently for a period of time. That will help you better understand if you want to keep doing this and if it is for you at the end of the day. I also want you to think about the story. Sorry, my dog's all over the place. I want you to think about your story. So when you are figuring out, say hi, what your content is going to look like, think through, how's this going to play out? Is there a dramatic element that you can incorporate? Is there a way that you can be creative with using your editing or text to build and create engagement so that your audience wants to keep watching so that they can get to that point of resolution with you? There is a lot to be said about storytelling. I'm not going to get super deep into it right now, but this is something that will absolutely take your content to the next level. It is constantly a work in progress for me, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what this next level of storytelling strategy is going to be for me, because quite candidly, I think I have a lot of room for growth in that area. So more to come on that. I don't have all of the answers other than those general tips of creating that story arc that has the dramatic elements and also has different ways for you to pull people in. If you don't really know how to get started with organizing your thoughts, I think it's as simple as doing things like using the Notes app on your phone. That is what I do. I basically create a new note for each content idea. I will just brain dump all the random thoughts that come to me about what are some of the key talking points, what might I want this thumbnail to look like, what's the title, and how do I want to structure this overall so that I can have an idea of what video clips I need to capture or how I want to edit, because that will speed up my process. Do not stress about the format. That is a huge tip for me. I know that I might be a lot further along with my YouTube monetization goals had I focused more on long form content, because it is easier to move towards watch hours through long form content, especially for an up and coming creator. But that's not how this played out for me. The vast majority of my videos are short form. And the main reason for that, if I'm being quite candid, is that short form just felt more within my reach. Getting a video that was a minute or less, it gave me some parameters that helped me get out of my head and just like really start doing. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to start to incorporate more long form videos like this one and think through like what that's going to mean for my creative process. And I will say that I have found that in a lot of ways, these sort of sit down long form videos are easier to edit because you don't have the time restriction. That takes a lot of the pressure off. So there's benefits to both. Just go with whatever you think is going to be more within your reach to get started. That's my main point there. Do not stress over the format. Also, you'll hear a lot of different thoughts about this, but you do not need a niche to start, or at least that is my personal opinion. I think your first 100 or so uploads should be focused on experimentation. I have posted all types of videos. I've posted hair care, skincare, travel, hiking, cooking, pet stuff, all over the place. But you want to use your early days again to get that feedback about what is landing from others. You also want your feedback to yourself on how much do you like making content in each of those different categories. So that's important. It goes both ways. You want to do the stuff that's going to be sustainable for you, so you need to try out a bunch of different stuff to see how that will play out. I think it's also worth calling out that content creation is sometimes about how we can be of service to others, and other times it's really just about documenting our own experiences. Both are valid, both can land with people. So don't get too caught up on making that distinction. If it starts with you doing personal vlogs, that's where it starts. You're going to gain a lot of skills just by picking a lane and going with it right off the bat. You can always change that later. Just remember that the more you upload, the more you are allowing the algorithm to help you find your audience. That's really what this game is about, especially in your early stages. Hopefully that piece of advice will help you not be like me and not get stuck in these analysis paralysis loops. I want to just encourage you to go with your gut. It is about putting content out there consistently so that the algorithm can help you find the people that you want to connect with. And you have to feed the platforms enough data points and information for it to know where to send your videos so that you start to make those connections and you start to build that community. All right, I'm all over the place with my sun protection, but it is super bright in here, so hat's going back on. I also want you to think about the fact that if you see other content creators and you are feeling a sense of envy or jealousy, that is another sign that you want to do this and you need to give it a try. I am not a person that experiences those emotions very often. I consider myself relatively secure from like a self-confidence perspective, but I often look at super successful creators, and on one hand I am really happy for them and excited for their success, and it's also a sign to me that like if they can do it, I can do it. But on the flip side, sometimes I have these thoughts that, like, oh, this should be me. I should have started this a long time ago. And I want to be in their shoes. I'm just being honest about it. I think that if you are feeling that, you shouldn't shy away from those feelings. You should not feel ashamed of them. I'm going to post a link to a video from, I think her name is Ayana. She is a philosopher that posts videos here on YouTube. She did one around the emotions and feelings of jealousy. And it was a really helpful way to reframe how we think about those feelings. So go check out that video if you're interested. Another tip is to take comfort in the fact that very few people will see your first upload, really your first few uploads. So I want you to take some of the pressure off of yourself. I will post the metrics probably over here of how many views my very first YouTube upload got here on this platform. And you will see the current view count. Like, it's not that high. It wasn't until 8 months later that I had a video really hit on this platform. It was a review of the Dyson Airstrait. That is where like a third of my current subscribers come from. And I never saw myself as like a hair care vlogger. And so it was interesting to me that that one took off. But I also think there was an element of timing when that product got released. I purchased an order like the next day and was waiting for it when I got home from a vacation to try it out immediately. For some reason, something was just telling me that time was of the essence. And I think that really played out, just being one of the first people to have a non-sponsored demo of this new tool. That video, I think, has over 200,000 views to date, and it's still going. It is still one of my most frequently viewed videos. Your first upload's probably not going to have a lot of reach, but if they do, let's say you go viral on your first upload, there's really no downside to that. You get incredible reach. You probably have reached your monetization targets for this platform right off the bat. And maybe you have, just like that, overnight, figured out a new stream of income for yourself. Statistically speaking, probably not going to get a lot of views, but if you are in that minority and you really hit the jackpot right out of the gate, that is a great sign that this is what you were meant to be doing all along. If you're not ready to upload yet, the least you can do is start capturing content more routinely. That's going to give you a lot of valuable practice on thinking through the visual elements of content creation. I would encourage you to take that content and get some practice editing. Use some of these free apps that are available to you and think about how you would put this together to tell a story or to capture a moment in a way that is low stakes or feels low stakes for you. What you will probably find is that after you've spent the time investing in capturing that content and editing it, it is going to move you so much closer to that point of wanting to share that with the world because you have put time and energy into it. Lots to gain from a skills perspective. Honestly, I wish I would have started the sort of practice or dry run documentation years ago because there are just so many memories I wish that I would have captured with my family, like specifically of my grandparents, and I just wasn't thinking like that. So I want you to start thinking about that sooner rather than later. The other thing that I want to share is just my personal thought about this. Like, yes, I consider this to be a hobby to some degree, but I also consider this an investment in my future in a lot of different ways. I absolutely like want to make it by my definition of making it on this platform, which I know is probably a more lofty goal than how a lot of people would frame their goals on this platform, but that is how I set goals for myself. And that is in a lot of ways informed by my life experiences. And I'm totally okay with that. Yes, there is a high hurdle of where I want to go with this, but I want to encourage you to also think big. I want to encourage you to stop overthinking this. I want you to have a vision for yourself, and I want you to think about your vision in a large way. I want you to be delusional, and I want you to get started right now. I wish you the best on this journey.